Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history. Today we're diving into January 24th, a date that apparently woke up and said, I'm not just a winter day, I'm a plot twist factory. This date has seen assassinations, revolutions, gold rushes, space robots, constitutional repairs, and at least one Roman emperor who thought appointing his horse to public office was a smart leadership strategy. So basically, January 24th is America, but with more togas. Let's get into it. Segment 1, Caligula down, Claudius up. Rome's worst casual Friday, 41 CE. January 24th, 41 CE, when Rome discovered that choosing a leader based on vibes alone is not, in fact, a stable governance model. Caligula, the emperor who treated the Roman treasury like a Vegas slot machine and insisted people worship him as a living god, was assassinated by his own Praetorian Guard. Yes, the group assigned to protect him said, actually, we're good, and stabbed him 30 times, which feels less like a political assassination and more like an ancient Yelp review. And the best part? While Rome is in chaos, the Praetorian Guard finds Caligula's uncle, Claudius, literally hiding behind a curtain. This is not a metaphor. The future emperor was crouched behind palace drapery like a kid playing hide-and-seek who didn't realize the game was over 3 hours ago. And then the Praetorian Guard goes, yeah, he'll do. This is history's earliest example of, we're out of ideas. Pick the guy behind the curtain. Claudius, who everyone thought was too timid or too nerdy to lead, suddenly becomes emperor and then surprises everyone by being competent. He expands the empire, reforms the administration, annexes Britain, and overall proves that the quiet kid in class might just conquer your island. Meanwhile, Caligula's horse, Incitatus, probably looked around and thought, honestly, I would have run things better. Segment 2, medieval and early modern earthquakes of power, popes, kings, fatimids, and a jousting disaster. Now we travel forward to a time when the Middle Ages are doing what they do best, arguing over religion, fighting for land, and inventing new reasons to put each other on trial. January 24th in 914 gives us the first Fatimid invasion of Egypt. Basically, the medieval version of someone trying to change the Wi-Fi password while the Abbasids insisted everything was fine. And in 1438, the Council of Basel suspends Pope Eugene IV. Yes, a church council fired the Pope. Imagine a Zoom meeting kicking out the CEO. Conciliarism was the medieval HR department, and it was not messing around. Then, in 1458, Matthias Corvinus becomes king of Hungary. And he's one of those rulers who had the resume of 6 people. Scholar, warrior, patron of the arts, Renaissance icon. Basically, the Instagram influencer of kings, but with an actual army. But the big January 24th drama queen? King Henry VIII. Because on January 24th, 1536, Henry VIII has a massive jousting accident. Falls off his horse, suffers head trauma, almost dies. Medical historians believe this may have caused chronic brain injury, mood swings, and irrational behavior. So yes, the man who created a whole new church because he wanted to break up with his wife might have been concussed the entire time. This explains so much. Every English history teacher is somewhere whispering, oh, that tracks. Segment 3, Colonial America and Enlightenment Upgrades, the birth of governance with fewer kings and more meetings. On January 24th, 1639, the Connecticut colony adopts the Fundamental Orders, often called the first written constitution in Western tradition. Essentially, the colonists said, what if government, but on purpose? Representative elections, structured authority, limitations on power. It was democracy before democracy got its branding team. Then, in 1656, Maryland records its first Jewish doctor, Jacob Lombroso, arriving in the colony. This is a quiet but important January 24th. The slow diversification of early America, where new communities and professions begin shaping the emerging world. Then, in 1742, Charles VII becomes Holy Roman Emperor, the first non-Habsburg in centuries. Europe goes, wait, the job can go to someone else? It's like when America realized a president didn't have to be a white-haired founding father type. Change is shocking. And then we get Beaumarchais and E.T.A. Hoffman born on this date. Because apparently, January 24th also doubles as the birthday for people who are going to make art teachers very excited. Altogether, this segment is basically history saying institutions, ideas, constitutions. Also, here's a playwright who's going to help America win a war. Don't ask how. It's complicated. Segment 4, Gold Rush Fever, Slave Revolts, and the Birth of Romania. The 19th century goes off script. January 24th was a chaotic mess in the 1800s. Let's start in 1835 with the Malay Revolt in Brazil, the largest urban slave uprising in the Americas, led by African Muslims. They organized, coordinated, fought back, and terrified the ruling elite so badly that Brazil eventually ended its participation in the Atlantic slave trade. It was bravery, rebellion, and consequences, all before breakfast. Then, 1848, James Marshall finds gold at Sutter's Mill, looks at it and says, that's interesting. Meanwhile, the rest of the world hears gold and immediately books travel plans. The population of California explodes overnight like it's Coachella, but with more shovels and fewer showers. Of course, the gold rush also devastated native populations, a grim reminder that American expansion always comes with footnotes that textbooks try really hard not to discuss. Then, in 1859, Moldavia and Wallachia unite under Alexandru Ioan Cuza, forming modern Romania. Europe's like, we're rearranging borders again, as it does every 20 minutes in the 19th century. This segment's theme is basically, people fight for freedom. People chase gold. Europe draws a new map. January 24th refuses to take a day off. Segment 5, World Wars, Codebreakers, Amendments, and the United Nations trying its best. Welcome to the early 20th century, where January 24th shows up wearing combat boots. In 1900, we get the Battle of Spion Kop, where British troops learned an important military lesson. Maybe don't charge up a hill you haven't actually scouted. The Boers used trenches long before World War I made them mainstream, because warfare apparently has trends. Then, in 1915, the Battle of Dogger Bank, a naval clash made possible by British codebreakers who intercepted German messages. Room 40 was basically the original nerd squad, proving that intelligence work is just reading someone's texts before they arrive. Then, in 1924, Petrograd officially becomes Leningrad, because nothing says we're honoring Lenin like renaming a city in a way that will later confuse millions of tourists. But America gets in on the January 24th action too, the 20th Amendment. The one that moves inauguration to January 20th, was formally approved by states on January 24th, 1933. This removed the lame duck period, which previously allowed outgoing presidents to hang around for months, like a roommate who already moved out emotionally, but not physically. Then, in 1964, the 24th Amendment bans poll taxes, one of the more creative and shameful ways America said, oh, you wanted to vote? That'll be $1.50 and your dignity. And finally, January 24th, 1946, the first resolution of the United Nations General Assembly. They decide, let's eliminate atomic weapons. It is adorable that they tried. Segment 6, the Macintosh, Mars, Indiana, and the ghosts of leaders past. January 24th in modern times is somehow even more dramatic. 1984, Steve Jobs introduces the Apple Macintosh, the computer that told the world, hey, what if technology didn't look like homework? The GUI revolutionizes everything. People see a mouse and say, what is this sorcery? The Macintosh becomes the gateway drug to the digital world. 1986, Voyager 2 flies by Uranus. The entire scientific community tries so hard not to make the obvious joke. They fail. Humanity learns about ice giants, rings, and moons, and also learns we are incapable of maturity. 1990, Japan launches its first lunar probe. 2004, the Opportunity rover lands on Mars, and then stays there basically forever. NASA tells it, you just need to run for 90 days. And Opportunity says, what if I grind for 15 years instead? It is the most hardworking employee in government history. And finally, we end with the people born and dead on this date. Hadrian, Frederick the Great, Edith Wharton, Maria Tallchief, Neil Diamond, all wildly different, but all very much January 24th energy. And of course, Winston Churchill's death in 1965, which signaled the end of an era, and Ted Bundy's execution in 1989, which signaled the end of one of America's darkest criminal chapters. January 24th contains multitudes: emperors, kings, rebels, explorers, writers, robots, disasters, and a surprising amount of governance documentation. In conclusion, January 24th reminds us that history isn't just shaped by grand events. It's shaped by the strange ones, the accidental ones, the violent ones, the brilliant ones, and the ones that make you wonder whether humanity is okay. It's a day where an emperor dies, a computer is born, a planet is visited, and democracy gets patched like a faulty operating system. It is messy, inspiring, terrifying, and hopeful, much like the world we're living in. And if history is any guide, next January 24th will probably have something wild planned too. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay tuned, because tomorrow's history is just today waiting to happen.